quiet before you. Lord, I pray that you'll settle our minds. Help us to focus on that small voice that is leading us, that is speaking to us. God, be in our midst, I pray. Lord, we didn't come here to hear me talk, but we came to encounter the risen King, Lord. And God, I pray that you will be in this place in a special way, and that your name will be glorified, and that our lives will be changed because we have met you. We have touched the hem of your garment, and we are set free. Bless us, bless this time, and speak to us, God, because we are listening. In your wonderful name, amen. Well, guys, the last, maybe 3 weeks ago, Randy talked about 1 Timothy last week. Debbie talked about 2 Timothy. And tonight we're going to talk about Titus. And the reason I wanted us to sort of be wrapping up our year with these sort of smallish letters that oftentimes get overlooked as we're sort of thumbing through our Bibles is I think there's so much to be learned from these words that Paul, an older, more seasoned Christian leader and teacher, is sharing with two younger folks in the faith. They're younger in age, yes, but they're also younger in their walk with the Lord. And I think we can compare an awful lot of things with us as newer believers, maybe, that we might be a little more like Titus or a little more like Timothy than we are like Paul. We might be able to equate ourselves a little more like these new guys on the block a little bit, like, hey, this is our first go at this thing. We're not really sure how do we do Jesus stuff? How do we begin to lead things? How do we begin to sort of be the men and women that we're called to be? And I think this is really important for us because I know Gene does, Andy does, Bobby Joe does, we believe 100% that we are in Buchanan, Georgia, in the Old Baptist Church for a purpose. And it's not just because it's a cool old building, and it's not just because we like coming here on Thursday night and eating dinner together. Although, yes, those are true. It is a cool building, and I do love coming and eating dinner with y'all. It's arguably one of my best evenings of the week. So I love all that. But we're called to be a light in this community. We're called to be a safe haven for those out there somewhere. So I believe, this little group of hodgepodge misfit folks that are so beautiful and so called by God, we're going to make a huge impact as we move into this next year. So I wanted us to sort of begin to wrap this year up where we've talked so much about a change in perspective, a change in our view, a change in the way we're going to approach the world because we met Jesus. I wanted us to start answering a few questions as to, we've talked about now what? Now what do I do? Okay, I feel pretty good in the morning after I've listened to those 3 favorite praise songs, and I did that 20-minute, maybe not 20, maybe it's a 7-minute, but that little devotional thing, and, I had my bagel or I had my whatever, and I'm pretty pumped. I'm going to go change the world. And then I get my car and something's not right with it, and my kids are loud. I put on the wrong socks or whatever it is that I've done wrong, and I forgot this and I forgot all about that. And then, you get stuck in that really bad Bremen traffic up there, and it's just a nightmare. And, in a matter of 15, 20 minutes, your day has just gone south, right? So I want us to kind of wrap up with, so what do we do? And I want to encourage us, and our challenge tonight is going to be sort of taking some of these concepts we've talked about in 1st and 2nd Timothy and now in Titus. And I want to challenge you guys to put them in play in your life. I know Randy started us off in 1 Timothy, and there's this emphasis on how important it is to be in Scripture, how important it is to be focused on godly things. And then if we pick up in 2 Timothy, you see it's just added on the importance of this lifestyle change. And then if we dig into 2 Timothy a little bit more, we begin to find out that it doesn't matter who we are, male, female, young, old, God's got a plan for us. And there's purpose behind our life. Timothy wouldn't be the man that Paul is talking to if it wasn't for his grandmother and his mom. Titus, we find out at the end of Titus that if it wasn't for this group of folks that were around him, Titus wouldn't be Titus. That church wouldn't even be there. And see, the thing that's so cool about Titus is he's on the island of Crete, and Crete is just a bunch of misfits. It's just a bunch of folks that don't do anything right. And when I read it, I kind of think about an at-one group a little bit. A bunch of folks that don't seem to fit normal church stuff, but have met Jesus and we're trying. We're pursuing him, but we don't quite know what to do sometimes. So there's some rules that are in, or not rules, but there's some guidelines in 1 Timothy. 1 Timothy 3 and 4, if you're ever worried or concerned about, am I being a good leader? Meditate on chapter 3 and chapter 4. Just read over those. Play them in your car and answer some questions. Am I doing that? If I'm not doing it, why am I not doing it? And how do I begin to do it better? It talks about husbands, how you're supposed to act. Kids, how you're supposed to act. Wives, how you're supposed to act. Grandmas, how you're supposed to be. Old fellas, how you're supposed to do it. The whole gamut is covered. Young, old, male, female, doesn't matter. And now in Titus, I want us to look in the second chapter of Titus. There's an amazing thing that happens. And it really seems to solidify this idea that we've been talking about this whole year about our perspective change. And that there has to be this shift in the way we view the world. And when we begin to change the way we view the world, we begin to influence and impact our culture. And then there is a cultural change. See, Paul very clearly doesn't say, Titus, change the way you guys behave at work and within the confines of like government and all of that, because we want to overthrow things and we want to change a whole bunch of stuff. He doesn't say it like that. He says, change the way you behave so you will influence and then change the culture that you're in, because people will see that you're different. So when people come into our church on Sunday morning, Thursday night, see us in the parade on Saturday, at a car show on Saturday, at the Fried Pie Festival, wherever they see us, we want them to see something a little bit different. Not arrogant, we got it all figured out, but man, we've met Jesus and we want to introduce you to him. And if you already know him, we want to come along beside you and walk with you. See, Paul tells Timothy something beautiful in verse 2 of chapter 2, where he's talking about, I want you to guide them being the folks in the church, with love, faith, and he says endurance. Well, in Romans and in 1 Thessalonians, Paul says the exact same thing, except he says hope instead of endurance. So Paul's playing on something that he's been talking about throughout the entire area. He's written letters. He's encouraged different people in different churches to pursue this idea of faith, love, and hope. And now he flips it and says endurance. Well, why? Why would he do such a thing? What does that mean? Now the Bible doesn't make sense because it doesn't match right, and this is all goofy, and now I don't believe in anything. No, that's not what it's about. It's about Paul is encouraging Timothy or Titus to live this certain way, model this certain behavior, and to do it for the long haul. To do it for a while, not just for this afternoon, not just on Sunday mornings, not just on Thursday nights, not just when I feel like it, but to do it every day, day in, day out, throughout the day. When I'm at home with my family, when I'm at work with my coworkers, when I'm off goofing around with my buddies, and when I'm all by myself. Live this lifestyle. Pursue this way because people are watching. Now that's the key there, guys. So people are going to start watching us. People are already watching us. I mean, when we were lining up at the parade, one of the ladies that was sort of organizing it, she came by and stuck her head in the window of the truck and she said, "We're so glad you guys are a part of this. It's so exciting that you're in downtown and your church is doing stuff, and we're so happy you're here." So people are seeing it. People are seeing us, one church family, at One Folks, making an impact in this little community. Now it ripples out. Buchanan goes to Bremen, goes to Temple, goes over to Douglasville. It goes south down into Noonan. I mean, so we're rippling. We go over into Alabama. We go, we're going. We go up to Rome. We're up there some. So we're rippling. We're rippling. We're doing it. We are setting an example of walking in faith, love, and we're going to keep doing it. So that endurance, it becomes our method of giving people hope. See, all of a sudden, they know that we're in this thing for the long haul. We're in this thing. Gene's part of the historical committee. I think he's probably the only dude on the group, and he's probably the only person under like 75 in the bunch. So, I mean, we're in it. We're in this thing. Was I wrong? No, okay, all right. Yeah, he's squeezed right in. He's 74 and a half, okay. So we're in it. We're doing this stuff, guys. People are coming. We're making an impact. We are showing love to folks. We are demonstrating faith, and we're doing it continually. We're doing it every day. We're doing it when we feel like it. And here's the kicker, guys. We're doing it when we don't feel like it. That's the challenge. Because I'll be honest, most of my day is filled with sort of mundane, sort of blah, 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 work, and stuff. Nothing real fun happening, driving back and forth, doing not much of anything exciting. But in that, I'm called to show endurance. I'm called to show I'm getting up and I'm in the game, whether I feel like it or not. Because I never, ever know who is watching. I never know when I'm in a situation, who can I impact for the kingdom? Who is God pushing me to go and talk to? What kind of place am I in so that I can tell somebody about Jesus, and maybe better said, I can show somebody Jesus? Because I think we've all probably had that guy or that gal in our life that could sure talk about Jesus, but was maybe one of the most hateful, bitter person you've ever met in your life. See, we ain't got time for that in here. That's not here. That's not what we're called to do. That's not what Paul is telling Timothy. That's not what he's telling him to do. That's not the example that Timothy's grandmother and mother portrayed for that young man. That's not what Titus is called to do in this odd little island community that is so weird and culturally broken. He's called to set an example. He's called to share love, share faith, and through that endurance, he's given people hope. And see, that's where we come in, guys. I don't know if you've ever thought about that, but we give people hope. We give people a glimpse at what they might be missing. This time of year, it's hellish for folks that struggle with addictions, that struggle with depression, that struggle with anxiety, that struggle with family brokenness, that struggle almost in any way. It's going to be amplified between now and the end of the year. It is on turbo blast because for a lot of people, they can't do anything right. They were going to save up and have a great Christmas, but they forgot to save up and have a great Christmas. So they're all of a sudden, they're already upside down and missing the point of Christmas. Then they've got that naggy in-law. Not that I have one, Kara. But you got that naggy in-law that's going to point out everything you've ever done wrong and why, this isn't the right thing to be doing. And then every sound, every smell, every thought is going to drive you into whatever you came out of. Whatever that pit was that God has brought you out of, for some reason, we sure want to jump back in there when things go wrong. And so now is the time, folks. Now is the time to not tell somebody they need Jesus, because most of the time they know. They don't need you to point out how they're screwing up. They know. I guarantee you. They might not want to tell you, but they know. And they don't need you telling them. What they need you to do is come along and example what God has done for you. And that example is, I'm so filled with love, and God is love, and guess who he loves? Me. You. Do you get that? Do you get that? If God, Jesus, and it says that right in the beginning of John, is love. And who did he choose to love? Us. That's pretty awesome. And that deserves to be told to people, but even more importantly, it deserves to be shown to people. And that's what I want us to do. That's what I want us to do moving forward. And I know there's people in this room that do it all day long. And then there's some of y'all in here that are kind of on the fence. I want to push you off the fence. And then there's some of y'all that are scared to climb on that fence. Well, I'm going to give you a boost. Because this is what we're called to do, folks. And this is the time that people need us more, maybe, in this time of year than they could ever imagine the rest of the year. It's funny how nobody needs a whole lot of help in March. But, second, third week of December, holy moly. Man, did I let that catch up on me again? And then, and then you factor in all sorts of other problems that are happening that are out of their control. So here's what I want us to do, guys. I want us to remember what Paul told Titus, what Paul told Timothy, and then I want you guys at some point during this week, maybe tonight, because y'all will forget after tonight, maybe, let's say, all right, maybe on the ride home. Let's do it then, because maybe that's about as far as we'll get. Okay, so on the ride home, we're listening to Psalms 51. I would say read it, but, it's dangerous if you're driving. But, if Dina's driving, you can read it and read it to her, vice versa. It doesn't matter. But I want you to read Psalms 51. Because Psalms 51 is one of the most beautiful, hey, boy, did I ever screw up. And hey, did God ever fix it? Things you'll ever read. David, one of the most historic men in Jewish history, has done one of the dumbest, worst things imaginable. He's horrible. It would be some sort of gangster thug movie if it happened today, what he did and how he did it and how manipulative and how premeditated and how horrible the series of events are. And he cries out to God. But he doesn't just do it on his own. He does it after his buddy comes up and says, yo, bro, that was bad. Woo, I didn't realize you were such a scoundrel. But that was rough right there, what you just did. And not just that one thing, those like 17 things in a row that were just compounding in horribleness. But there's something that happens about halfway through. David goes from this sounding like this beaten, broken man into, God, you've set me free and I'm triumphant. Not because of anything I've done, but strictly the grace and the mercy that the God of creation has bestowed upon me. Guys, as we pursue Jesus, grace has to be our guide. As we're guided by grace and as we walk in grace, people begin to see love amongst us, the way we handle people we don't even know, and even better, the folks that really tick us off, the way we deal with them. Randy said something tonight about how he used to pray that everything go all right at work, everything be perfect, and it never got like that. He still miscut things, he still dropped stuff, he still didn't do stuff right. But you know what? People see Jesus in Randy because he doesn't stomp off and act like a 2-year-old. He doesn't cuss at anybody. He doesn't throw something down. He just says, doggone it, I made a mistake, fellas. Give me just a second, I'm going to fix it. And those people are watching Randy, and they're thinking, Randy didn't used to act like that. What is different about that big old redhead over there? What happened to that man? I want to know. Because Randy is showing grace. Randy is being shown grace. Randy is showing love because Randy is so desperately loved. And so now Randy's walking it out day by day. What are we at, Randy? 2 years and how many? Two and some change, right? Is what? 2 years. Okay, so we're almost at 2 years. All right. That's endurance, man. That's getting up and doing it every day. That's getting up and knocking it down every single day. Every single day. I'm getting up, I'm doing it. On the days I don't feel like it, I'm doing it. And somebody sees hope in that. And Randy walks in that hope. And that hope gets bigger, that faith gets deeper, and that love shines brighter. Because grace is guiding us, folks. This time of year is tough. It's tough for people in this room, I know that. And I want everybody to know in here that I'm available if you need me. I know Gene is, Andy is. We're here if you need something. And if you call me after like 10:30 or something, it better be really good. That's all I'm saying. It better be a humdinger, because if not, it can wait until in the morning. That's all I'm saying. If not, call Andy. He stays up late, I think. It was pretty good, wasn't it, Gabriel? Yeah, that was a good one. So here, guys, I want us to, as we kind of close, and Randy, you're going to come help with the chips? All right. I just want us to move into the rest of this year and into 2023, walking in this grace, being guided by this grace, like showing love, showing faith, and giving hope. Just being a beacon of hope, love, and faith. And if there's something you need to give up tonight to get it all back on track, now's the time. If there's something that you need to be prayed for or pray with or talk about or any of that, now's the time. There's no excuse to leave this place not with stuff cleaned up. Guys, we're called to do something great. Not because we're great, but because Jesus is great. And he has changed our lives. And if you're not quite there yet, that's okay. Talk to one of us. We'll walk you through some ideas, some thoughts. We'll pray with you. And at some point, folks, we just got to get out of the way and let God do it. Jeremiah, you said that so great tonight, that there was a point I just had to, all right, I'm not going to hang on to it anymore. I'm not. I can't. It was like that for me. I held on to this stuff that had become me for so long. I didn't even know what me looked like without that. But when I let it go, it was pretty amazing, wasn't it, Jack? It is. So, guys, Randy's going to take over and do some chips. But I love you, and I challenge you, if you're wondering what you need to do with your life, read 1 Timothy. Then keep going in 2 Timothy. And then read Titus. It's a pretty good roadmap.